Hello and welcome to my house. In this video I'll be showing you how to make this beautiful lino printed greeting card using this lino printing kit. You can use other lino, but this is a wonderful kit to start off and it's what I used. So if you like these videos, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So this is the Essdee lino printing kit that I've been using. It's a perfect little kit to start off with because it's got everything included in there. So you've got a little instruction booklet, you've got your paint roller, got your safety guard. The ink in there is a black water-based ink, which is really easy to use and clean up. All the blades are in this little gadget, which I think is fantastic because everything's really neat and tidy. You know where they are, you're not going to lose them. And I've been loving that little feature. You can put the round lino pieces on there to make it into a stamp. So clearly I've been using this already. So today we're going to use this larger lino from there. And we're going to transfer this pansy drawing onto it using some tracing paper. So I did get some extra paints from Caligo just to add an extra pop of colour because I didn't want it to just be black. So I'm going to go ahead and trace it directly onto some tracing paper as best I can. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then what we're going to do once the trace is finished is we're going to turn it over and I guess score on the back of it or draw on the back of it just so that the image from the trace transfers onto our lino. So if you go ahead and do that, I'm using just a regular HB pencil and just pressing down as hard as I can just to get the graphite to transfer over onto the lino. So you get a mirrored image onto there. So I've got a fine little image there, which I can't see too well, so I'm going to go over it with the pencil just to darken it up so that when I'm cutting it out, I can see exactly what I'm doing and don't have to guess. By the way, this is my first ever voiceover in a video, so I hope you enjoy it and that it's not too bad for you guys. So I just love these pansies that have come out, especially this time of year. They're so cheery and cheerful and just so pretty when there's not much else going on. And got daffodils, obviously. But it's just that little hope of summer's coming. So I want that little petal to come through on the front. So it just looks a bit more dynamic. So let me know, you guys, what you think of this as well in the comments underneath. If you would prefer a simpler lino tutorial, if you do. And then I could make you one like that if you wanted a simpler one, or if you'd like to see one where it's two lino things together, so you've got multiple colours on there, rather than just a one simple one like this one. So the only trouble I found with my one is the leaves there are very intricate and I found them quite difficult to cut out. So I did kind of simplify it as I was cutting them out just to make it easier on myself. And the tools I was using mostly the two smaller ones, so the small round one, and then I ended up using the small V-shaped one because this design is so small that any other shapes were just not really useful. So that's just switching it over to the small V-shape one, which I predominantly used for all the lines, all the edging, just on everything that was really small and intricate, especially for the inside bits of the flower just there. So just going ahead and cutting out the petals, just cutting out anything that needs to be white really, and anything that needs the paper to show through. So the hardest bit was actually cutting off the side bit there. That took quite a bit of work to get that off because the lino is actually quite thick. So this did take me quite a few hours to cut it all out entirely. So just be patient with it and just keep going. I mean, that's part of the fun for me, is that you can sit down and methodically cut out a lino, a design that you've created, and you don't have to think or anything. You can just let your mind wander as you're cutting it out or making simple decisions about which piece you're leaving in, which piece you're cutting out. And any errors that come out as well, I quite like the roughness of them, and I don't worry too much about any mistakes. I think it just adds to the quality and to the beauty of the lino. Now you can see wasn't using the guard there, and then suddenly I was, because I did end up actually cutting myself. So these tools are very sharp, so if you can use the guard, please do so. And I did end up taping down my board to the counter so it wasn't moving around so much, and that really helped. I found that very useful. And my favourite bit was actually cutting out the petals. I really enjoyed that. Afterwards, the leaves felt quite simple and easy. So there's the flowers all cut out, ready to go. And now for the background, I wanted to give the impression of a knitted sweater, because this time of year we're still wearing some of them. And you can see I'm wearing this knitted cardigan in this one. And I just wanted to allude to that a little bit. It's the right time of year for the pansies as well. So I'm just using the small round tool there to make little ovals. They're kind of rice shaped. And it was very therapeutic doing that. I did end up towards the end of this making some pencil lines with a ruler just to make sure I was still going straight, because it started to waver a little bit. But you can make the pencil lines from the beginning if you want. It was just that I only thought of it once it became a problem, and I was like, oh, I'm going off to the side there. Alright, so the lino's fully cut out there, and I've got a sheet of glass that I'm going to use because I find it a lot easier to use and a lot straighter than the tray that they provide in the little kit. And I've got my Caligo inks here and my little palette knife, and I'm going to use this 300-gram smooth ivory card to print onto. I'm going to make some A4 prints and some greeting cards, and then you saw there I had some extra random sheets of paper, so that's my Prussian blue colour, which is really lovely. These Caligo inks, they're oil-based, but they're really super easy to clean. That's my processed yellow. They're super easy to clean with just water and some paper kitchen towels, which is what I used. So you don't have to worry too much about creating too much of a mess, because they do come out really easily. And I do use the extender there as well, just to I guess extend the paint a little bit, but to make it less intense, because the colours can be quite dark. Go ahead and mix a bit of yellow and blue there to make a green. Now I do add some red in there just to make that green more natural looking, because otherwise it can look like quite an artificial green if you just have the yellow and the blue by themselves. It looks like I ran out of yellow there, so I'm going to need more yellow. So I ended up using quite a bit of yellow on this, and a little bit of the extender. That should do it. not worry too much about mixing it well, because when you roll it out you end up mixing it all together anyway. So you just want to get a nice smooth layer with your paint. I find this bit quite therapeutic as well. It's just very satisfying getting all that paint everywhere. So that's a really beautiful green now. As you can see, it's very nice and earthy green. It's not an artificial green like you can get sometimes on toys and plastic. Alright, so I've got a scrap of paper underneath there so I don't dirty my surface. Now roll out the paint evenly onto the lino. Just try not to miss anything. Get it as evenly as you can all over the raised surface. So the only thing I'll say about the Caligo inks is that they do take a while longer to dry than the water-based ones. So just keep that in mind when you are making a print like this, that you need at least a week or at least a few days to let it dry enough to post, for example. I usually like to leave it out for a week or so just to make sure it is dry. If you used water-based inks, they would dry up in a couple of days properly, and you wouldn't have to worry about the print smudging or anything. So that looks about ready, looks nice and even. So I think I'm ready to do a print. So onto that 300-gram ivory card. So the only thing I didn't think about is how am I going to center this onto the A4 card. So I'm going to just put it down on my surface and then mark off the corners so that I know where to center the lino onto there before I put the card. And then I can have a nice central print. So just marking off the corners there. So there's my lino in the centre. It looks about central. You know me, I don't need it to be too perfect. And the card on top, so we're just going to plonk that down as best we can and then just press it down with our hands initially. Firm it all over. Now I did find this tub of paint which has a nice rounded bottom which I can use to firm the card onto the lino and really press that down on there so you can get as much of the paint onto the card as you can. I'm just checking the corners there to make sure that the prints come out okay, and if I think it hasn't, then I just press it down just a little bit more to get more of the paint on there. And then when I think it's okay, then we just lift it up and see what we have. So look at that. That's a beautiful print. That's lovely. Fantastic. So I do like to mess around and experiment, so I'm going to just make a light green colour there. And I'm going to put that at the top of the lino just to make a kind of gradient as you come down. We'll see what happens. It's always fun to try things out. So this is a spare roller that I bought separately, which you don't have to do this, but I thought it'd be fun. Of course, if you've only got the one roller, then it wouldn't be so easy to do that. So my scrap piece of paper down, putting the paint on there. So there's still a little bit of paint left from the last print, but we're just adding some more, because if we don't, then we'll get a really faint print. So there's the lighter colour on there. Just trying to get all the corners, make sure I don't miss anything. Which is of course the tragedy when you make a print and you realise you've missed something. Just getting rid of my scrap paper, and there's a sheet of A4 card, 300 gram, the same as I used earlier, which I've folded in half to make an A5 card. So an A5 greeting card I'm going to put onto the front of it. So I've just roughly centered it, I haven't taken too much care there. Just pressing it down firmly, making sure the ink is transferring. The only thing to keep in mind with this one is because it's got 2 layers of card, it's going to require a bit more pressure to transfer it on there. Taking a little peek. Little peeks are useful. Just make sure you hold down the card when you take a peek so that the card doesn't move and you don't get like a double print or something. Alright, let's take a look. There we go, the gradient worked, so that's fantastic. So these are all the A4 prints I made, which are hanging outside with little tiny cube pegs, drying, and I think I'm going to put those up on my shop. And these are all the cards I made, drying on the radiator indoors. They just look so lovely in a row. Thank you for watching my video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, and please don't forget to subscribe to get more notifications of further videos. Thank you.